Have you ever looked at the change in your pocket and wondered if you might be holding a small fortune? Well, some of you just might be. I'm not talking about the obviously rare coins that most collectors already know about, the St. Gaudens double eagles or the 1913 Liberty Head nickels. I'm talking about modern treasures hiding in plain sight, coins that could have passed through your hands just a few decades ago. Today, we're diving into three extraordinary U.S. nickels that weren't minted in the distant past, but rather in 1985, 1995, and 2005. These coins demonstrate that incredible value doesn't always come with centuries of age. Sometimes, spectacular errors, limited mintages, or special circumstances create numismatic treasures right under our noses. So empty those coin jars and pay close attention, because what I'm about to share might just change your retirement plans. Let's begin with the 1985 Jefferson nickel, a coin that beautifully exemplifies how mint errors can create extraordinary value in otherwise common currency. The standard 1985 nickel is generally worth just face value unless in absolutely perfect condition. But there's a specific variety that has the collecting world abuzz, and it could be sitting in an old coffee can in your garage right now. The 1985 double die reverse Jefferson nickel was discovered relatively recently compared to other famous error coins. What makes this particular error so fascinating is that it occurred during the die hubbing process at the Philadelphia Mint. When the reverse die was being created, it wasn't perfectly aligned during multiple impressions, creating a visible doubling effect on Monticello and several inscriptions. Under magnification, you can clearly see doubling on the steps of Monticello, particularly noticeable on the pillars and the word Monticello itself. The lettering in E pluribus unum and 5 cents also shows this distinctive doubling. This isn't just any minor variety. This is what serious error collectors call a Class 1 double die, meaning the entire design shows significant rotation between hubbings. What makes this particularly intriguing is that double dies from the 1980s are considerably rarer than those from earlier decades, as mint technology had improved significantly by this time. The fact that such a dramatic error made it into circulation speaks to a perfect storm of oversight that numismatists find irresistible. The story of its discovery adds another layer of intrigue to this coin. Unlike some famous errors that were identified immediately, the 1985 double die nickel flew under the radar for several years before sharp-eyed collectors began to notice the anomaly. The first documented discovery wasn't until the early 1990s, meaning these coins circulated without anyone recognizing their significance for nearly a decade. Once word spread through numismatic publications, collectors began frantically searching through rolls and dealer inventory, driving up both awareness and value. So what should you be looking for if you want to find one of these treasures? First, check the mint mark. This error appears only on Philadelphia minted nickels, which have no mint mark. Next, you'll need at least a 5x magnifying glass to examine Monticello on the reverse. The doubling is most pronounced on the building's dome and columns, as well as in the lettering. Don't confuse this with machine doubling or strike doubling, which are more common and less valuable. True double dies show doubling that's consistently oriented in one direction and affects specific parts of the design rather than the entire coin. Now let's talk about value. And this is where things get really interesting. A circulated 1985 double die nickel in fine condition might bring between $50 and $75, which is already impressive for a modern 5-cent piece. But the value escalates dramatically with condition. In extremely fine condition, these coins regularly sell for $150 to $200. Uncirculated examples in MS 63 grade can command $400 to $500. And for the finest known specimens, we're looking at auction results exceeding $3,000 for perfect MS 67 examples with full steps detail. That's a 60,000-fold return on your 5 cents. What makes this coin particularly compelling for collectors is that it represents one of the few sleeping giant errors of modern U.S. coinage. The U.S. Mint struck over 640 million nickels in Philadelphia in 1985, and numismatists estimate that perhaps a few thousand examples of this double die variety exist. That sounds like a lot until you consider that it represents less than 0.001% of the total mintage. And because the variety wasn't widely recognized during circulation, many of these coins were actually spent and subjected to wear, making high-grade examples particularly scarce. The condition spectrum for this error is fascinating. Most examples found in circulation show significant wear, as they weren't recognized as special when first released. Many were discovered in dealer stock or in rolls that collectors had set aside for other reasons. Finding an uncirculated example today almost certainly means that someone saved it without knowing its true nature, perhaps as part of a mint set or just a random coin that never made it into commerce. There's an interesting psychological aspect to collecting these modern rarities as well. For many numismatists who grew up in the 1980s, these coins represent a tangible connection to their youth, a time when they might have received such coins in change but weren't yet serious collectors. There's something deeply satisfying about finding treasure in what was once just pocket change from your formative years. Authentication is critical with this variety, as less dramatic machine doubling is sometimes misrepresented as the true doubled die. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified hundreds of genuine examples, providing a layer of security for serious collectors and investors. If you believe you've found one, proper authentication is well worth the expense given the potential value. What I find particularly compelling about the 1985 double die nickel is what it represents in the broader context of numismatic history. It stands as one of the last significant double die errors of the analog minting era. By the 1990s, the U.S. Mint had implemented more sophisticated digital design technologies that largely eliminated traditional double dies. This makes the 1985 variety something of a last hurrah for a classic type of minting error that produced such famous coins as the 1955 double die cent and the 1972 double die cent. The market trajectory for these coins has been steadily upward. When first recognized in numismatic circles in the early 1990s, uncirculated examples might have traded for $100 or less. By the early 2000s, that value had doubled or tripled. And in the last decade, with increasing attention to modern rarities and error coins, values have climbed even more dramatically. This steady appreciation underscores an important truth about numismatics. Knowledge creates value, and as awareness of a variety spreads, so too does its desirability and price. For those of you who enjoy the treasure hunt aspect of coin collecting, the 1985 double die nickel represents a perfect quarry. It's rare enough to be valuable, but common enough that new discoveries are still being made. Unlike some trophy coins that are financially out of reach for average collectors, this is a variety that could realistically be found by anyone willing to put in the time examining nickels from the era. There are also several known die states of this variety, with earlier strikes showing sharper doubling than later ones as the die began to wear. This creates another layer of collectability. Specialists might assemble a set showing the progression of this error through the die's lifespan, from early, prominent doubling to later, more subtle examples. What lessons can we draw from the 1985 double die nickel? Perhaps the most important is that sometimes the most valuable coins aren't the oldest or the most obviously precious. Sometimes, value lies in the anomalies, the mistakes, the unique circumstances that transform something ordinary into something extraordinary. It's a reminder to always look closely at what passes through our hands, because history and value can hide in the most unexpected places. Now let's turn our attention to the 1995 Jefferson nickel, a coin that tells a completely different story of numismatic significance. Unlike our previous example where an error created value, the 1995 nickel's extraordinary worth comes from something far more deliberate. Exceptionally low production numbers for certain special strikes, creating modern rarities that many collectors have overlooked. The year 1995 marked the 52nd year of Jefferson nickel production, and at first glance, there was nothing particularly notable about it. The design remained unchanged from previous years, Thomas Jefferson's profile on the obverse and his home, Monticello, on the reverse. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 774 million nickels that year, while Denver contributed another 888 million. By any standard, these were substantial mintages that would typically relegate these coins to face value for circulated examples. But that's not where our story gets interesting. The true treasure of 1995 lies in the special striking varieties produced exclusively for collectors, specifically the 1995 Special Mint Set, SMS, nickel, and the elusive 1995 Proof, matte finish nickel. These coins weren't meant for circulation, but were created with specialized techniques to showcase the mint's craftsmanship. And it's here that we find extraordinary value hiding in plain sight. Let's start with the 1995 Special Mint Set Nickel. That year, the U.S. Mint produced a unique set of coins with a special satin finish that differed from both standard business strikes and traditional proof coins. These SMS nickels featured sharper strikes and a distinctive finish that gave them a somewhat muted luster compared to their brilliant proof counterparts. What makes these coins particularly valuable is their extremely limited mintage. Only 30,000 were produced, making them among the lowest mintage Jefferson nickels ever created. But even more remarkable is the 1995 matte proof nickel. This coin was part of a special commemorative set honoring the 50th anniversary of the end of World War II. The U.S. Mint created just 25,000 of these sets, each containing a nickel with a unique matte finish that was unlike anything produced before. The technique used created a coin with an almost sandblasted appearance, microscopically textured surfaces that diffuse light rather than reflecting it sharply. The effect is subtle but unmistakable to trained eyes, giving these nickels a distinctive appearance that stands apart from both regular proofs and business strikes. Identifying these special nickels requires attention to detail. The matte proof has that distinctive sandblasted appearance I just described, along with sharp design elements and square, well-defined edges. The SMS nickel shows a satin finish that's smoother than the matte proof, but lacks the mirror-like fields of traditional proofs. Both coins should show full steps on Monticello, meaning all 6 steps on the building's portico are clearly defined with complete horizontal lines. This feature alone adds significant premium to these special issues. So what are these coins worth today? This is where the story gets truly remarkable. A standard 1995 circulation nickel is worth just 5 cents unless it's in absolutely pristine condition. But a 1995 special mint set nickel in its original condition can easily command $50 to $75. And if that SMS nickel has been professionally graded at MS 68 or higher, we're looking at prices between $500 and $1,000. The 1995 matte proof nickel, however, reaches into truly rarefied territory. These coins regularly sell for $150 to $200 even in PR 65 condition. The finest examples, graded PR 70 with flawless surfaces, have sold at auction for over $2,500. That's an astounding 50,000 times its face value. And here's what's particularly fascinating. Because these coins were only available through specific commemorative sets, many were purchased by non-collectors who were simply interested in World War II history. Some of these sets were separated, with the nickels ending up in general collections or even being spent. This means there could be examples out there, unrecognized for what they truly are. The market trajectory for these special 1995 nickels has been consistently upward. When initially released, the World War II commemorative set sold for $36 from the U.S. Mint. By the early 2000s, the set was trading for around $100, with much of that value attributed to the unique matte-proof nickel. In recent years, as awareness of modern rarities has increased, prices have accelerated dramatically. This upward trend shows no signs of abating, as the fixed mintage means there will never be more of these coins than exist today, while the collector base continues to grow. What makes these special 1995 nickels particularly fascinating is their historical context. The 1990s represented something of a transitional era for the U.S. Mint, with increasing focus on collector products and special finishes. The matte-proof finish used on the 1995 nickel was a revival of an artistic technique employed in the early 20th century on coins like the 1913 to 1916 Buffalo nickels and certain St. Gaudens gold pieces. By reintroducing this finish for the World War II commemorative program, the Mint created an unexpected bridge between classical numismatic artistry and modern collecting. There's also an interesting detective element involved in authenticating these coins. Because the differences between the special finishes and regular strikes can be subtle, especially to untrained eyes, some collectors have mistakenly identified ordinary 1995 nickels as the special varieties. True SMS and matte-proof nickels will show distinct mint characteristics beyond just the finish, sharper strikes, more pronounced design elements, and often higher quality planchets. Professional grading services have become adept at distinguishing these varieties, making certified examples particularly desirable for serious collectors. Another aspect that adds to the allure of these coins is their dual collector appeal. They attract both Jefferson nickel specialists looking to complete comprehensive collections and modern commemorative enthusiasts interested in the World War II series. This broader base of interested collectors has helped maintain strong demand even during periods when other areas of numismatics experience downturns. For those who might own these coins without realizing it, there are several identifying characteristics to look for. Beyond the distinctive finish, the 1995 matte-proof nickels have squared, sharp rims unlike circulation strikes. Under magnification, the surface appears uniformly textured, almost like fine sandpaper, rather than showing the flow lines typical of regular strikes. The design details, particularly Jefferson's hair and Monticello's architectural elements, show exceptional clarity. And if you're fortunate enough to have the original packaging, the matte-proof nickel came in a distinctive commemorative holder with World War II imagery. One particularly fascinating aspect of the 1995 special nickels is their role in shifting collector awareness toward modern U.S. coinage. Throughout much of the 20th century, numismatic focus centered primarily on 19th century issues and key dates from early 20th century series. The exceptional value achieved by these 1995 special issues helped demonstrate that significant rarities could emerge from contemporary minting practices. This recognition has led to greater attention to modern special strikings and limited edition products, fundamentally changing how many collectors approach U.S. coinage of the late 20th and early 21st centuries. There's also a cautionary tale embedded in the story of these nickels. Many of the original purchasers of the World War II sets bought them as historical mementos rather than as numismatic investments. Some later sold these sets for minimal premiums or even broke them up without realizing the significant value of the matte-proof nickel. This serves as a reminder that knowledge remains one of the most valuable assets in numismatics. Understanding what makes certain coins special, even those produced within our lifetimes, can mean the difference between overlooking a treasure and recognizing substantial value. For collectors seeking these special 1995 nickels today, patience and education are essential. Because authentication can be challenging, purchasing certified examples from reputable dealers or auction houses is often the safest approach. For those willing to do the research and develop the expertise to identify these coins independently, opportunities still exist to find uncertified examples at prices well below their true market value. This creates an engaging pursuit for collectors who enjoy combining historical knowledge with the thrill of the hunt. As we consider the legacy of these special 1995 nickels, they stand as perfect examples of how circumstances beyond age or obvious precious metal content can create extraordinary numismatic value. These coins remind us that sometimes it's the subtle distinctions, the limited special issues, and the unique minting techniques that transform an ordinary denomination into a collector's prize. And with values continuing to appreciate, they demonstrate that modern U.S. coinage deserves the same serious attention that collectors have traditionally given to vintage issues. And now we come to our final featured coin, the 2005 Jefferson nickel. This relatively recent issue reveals yet another pathway to numismatic significance, design transitions, and historical commemorations. The year 2005 represents a pivotal moment in the evolution of the Jefferson nickel, marking the end of a 2-year commemorative series and the introduction of a completely redesigned portrait that continues to this day. This transition created several varieties that have become surprisingly valuable in a remarkably short time. To understand what makes the 2005 nickel special, we need to step back to 2004, when the U.S. Mint launched the Westward Journey Nickel series to commemorate the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition. For the first time since 1938, the nickel's designs were changed, with 2 different reverse designs issued in 2004 and 2 more in 2005. But 2005 brought another significant change, the first new obverse portrait of Jefferson in 67 years, creating what collectors call the Jefferson forward design. This means that 2005 nickels were produced with 2 different obverse designs. The traditional profile view used since 1938, paired with the American bison reverse, and the new forward-facing portrait, paired with the ocean in view reverse. These design changes created four distinct nickel varieties in just 2 years, with 2005 serving as the transition point between old and new. And as we've seen throughout numismatic history, transitions often create opportunities for exceptional value. The rarest and most valuable of the 2005 nickels is the 2005 speared bison variety. This dramatic error occurred on some of the American bison reverse nickels when a die gouge created what appears to be a spear piercing through the bison's back. This wasn't an intentional design element, but rather a production error that occurred when a die was damaged during preparation or cleaning. The result is a distinctive raised line that extends from the bison's back upward at an angle, creating a striking visual effect that immediately captures attention. What makes the speared bison variety particularly valuable is its limited occurrence. The error appears to have affected only a small number of dies at the Philadelphia Mint, creating a relative scarcity that wasn't immediately recognized. By the time collectors identified this variety, most examples had already entered circulation, meaning that high-grade specimens are exceptionally rare. Even more intriguing is that the error wasn't consistent across all affected coins. Some show more pronounced spears than others, creating a spectrum of collectability. A circulated 2005 speared bison nickel in VF condition might bring $20 to $30. Already impressive for a coin just 2 decades old. But uncirculated examples in MS 65 condition can sell for $300 to $500. The finest known specimens, graded MS 67 or higher with full steps on Monticello, have achieved prices exceeding $3,000 at auction. That's a remarkable 60,000 times face value for a coin that could have been in your pocket change just a few years ago. But the speared bison isn't the only valuable 2005 nickel variety. The 2005 D. Jefferson nickel with the new forward-facing portrait has become notably valuable in top grades with the full steps designation. This designation indicates that all 6 steps on Monticello's portico are fully struck and clearly visible, a surprisingly difficult feature to find on many Jefferson nickels due to striking inconsistencies. A 2005 D with the forward-facing portrait in MS 67 full steps condition can bring $1,000 or more, even though millions were minted. What's particularly fascinating about the 2005 nickel varieties is how quickly they've appreciated in value. Unlike many numismatic treasures that take decades to be recognized, collectors identified the speared bison variety within months of its release. Social media and online forums accelerated awareness, creating a market almost overnight. This represents a new paradigm in numismatics, the rapid identification of and market development for modern varieties, driven by interconnected collector communities sharing information in real time. The historical significance of these 2005 nickels extends beyond their varieties and errors. They represent the most substantial redesign of American pocket change in generations. After decades of static designs across all denominations, the early 2000s saw a revitalization of American coinage artistry, beginning with the 50-state quarters program and continuing with these commemorative nickels. The 2005 issues, particularly the new forward-facing portrait, reflected a more modern artistic sensibility while maintaining connections to historical themes. Jefferson's new portrait was actually inspired by Houdon's famous bust of the Founding Father, considered one of the most accurate depictions of his appearance. This created a coin that was simultaneously more historically authentic and more artistically dynamic than its predecessor. The word liberty in Jefferson's own handwriting was incorporated into the design, adding a personal connection to the subject that was unprecedented in American coinage. These artistic elements have made the 2005 redesign popular with collectors who appreciate both historical context and aesthetic quality. For those searching for valuable 2005 nickels, there are several key points to understand. The speared bison variety appears only on Philadelphia minted coins, those without a mint mark, bearing the traditional Jefferson profile and the bison reverse. The die gouge is most visible under magnification, but can be seen with the naked eye once you know what to look for, a distinct raised line extending upward from the bison's back. Because this variety was created by die damage, its appearance varies slightly from coin to coin, with earlier strikes typically showing more pronounced spears. The 2005 D with the new forward-facing portrait requires a different evaluation approach. Here, the overall strike quality is paramount, particularly the definition of Monticello's steps on the reverse. Professional grading services use specific criteria to award the valuable full steps designation. All 6 steps must be completely struck with no breaks in the horizontal lines. This feature is surprisingly elusive on this issue, making top-grade examples with full steps disproportionately valuable compared to their overall mintage numbers. What makes collecting these 2005 nickels particularly accessible is that they're still new enough that uncirculated examples can be found through careful searching of bank rolls. While the odds of finding a high-grade speared bison are admittedly slim, they're not zero, unlike many valuable coins that have been systematically removed from circulation over decades. This creates an engaging entry point for new collectors who might not have the budget for vintage rarities but can participate in the thrill of the hunt for modern treasures. The market trajectory for these 2005 varieties has been instructive for numismatists. When first discovered in late 2005 and early 2006, the speared bison variety might sell for $50 to $100 in uncirculated condition. By 2010, those values had doubled. And in the past decade, we've seen another doubling or tripling in value for the finest examples. This steady appreciation demonstrates that modern varieties, when genuinely scarce and visually distinctive, can establish lasting value rather than proving to be passing fads. There's also an educational component to the 2005 nickels that adds to their appeal. The Westward Journey series commemorated the Lewis and Clark expedition, introducing many Americans to this crucial chapter in national history through everyday pocket change. The reverses featuring the American bison and the ocean in view design, depicting the Pacific Ocean as seen by the expedition, told a sequential story across multiple coins. This educational aspect has attracted history enthusiasts who might not otherwise have developed an interest in coin collecting. For the forward-thinking collector, the 2005 nickels offer another valuable lesson: that significant numismatic opportunities often emerge during design transitions. Throughout U.S. coinage history, the years when designs change have frequently produced notable varieties and errors as mint personnel adapt to new production requirements. From the Flying Eagle cent transition to the Shield nickel introduction to the Liberty nickel's final years, these transitional periods have created many of America's most prized numismatic treasures. The 2005 nickels continue this tradition into the 21st century. The story of these 2005 nickels also reflects changing collecting patterns. Traditionally, numismatists focused on building date and mint mark sets, acquiring one example of each coin from each year and mint. Modern collecting has evolved to include die varieties, special finishes, and error types as essential components of comprehensive collections. The 2005 nickels, with their multiple design combinations, and the speared bison variety, exemplify this more nuanced approach to collecting contemporary issues. As we look to the future, the 2005 nickels stand as an important reminder that valuable numismatic treasures continue to be created.